So let's talk about it with our next guest. All guests coming to you via the Fire Wings hotline. Try one of their delicious flavors of wings today. Fire Wings, just wing it. The voice of the 49ers, Greg Papa, joining us here. Greg, for us, it was a treat to watch the game. You got a chance to call it. Did it feel as great, as interesting, as compelling, as great sports theater watching it in person and calling this game as it did for all of us watching it?
Well, it had incredibly high drama because of the two teams and the decade-long dislike they've had for each other over, from the 49ers standpoint, several different administrations, and Pete Carroll keeps trucking, and Russell Wilson. And the importance of the game, we built it as the quest for the West. If you win that game, or even tied that game on Monday, you would have had a really good position to have a stranglehold on the West. A win would have really put you on a stranglehold. A tie would have stiff-armed them a little bit away. But honestly, I thought it was a poorly played game. I just saw more errors than I saw great play. McGlinchey and Staley clearly struggled.
Yeah.
Jadeveon Clowney was the best player on the field, but I have a hard time with him because he's just so undisciplined and reckless. He does whatever the hell he wants, and he just shoots gaps, and I don't know how they cover for him. I think that's why Houston got frustrated with him. But they have another guy there that's won 3 Defensive Players of the Year award who does the same thing, J.J. Watt. I don't know how they run that defense. But anyway, so I just saw it more as poor play. The 49ers dropped so many footballs. I just thought it was a poorly played game. Now, in the end, you want to win a poorly played game. You don't care because no one's going to look back on it. They're just going to see 27-24 in overtime, and that's it. So the bottom line is they lost. They suffered a lot of injuries in the game. Staley got hurt again. Emmanuel Sanders got hurt in that game. Ronald Blair's out the year. DJ Jones, who had a tremendously powerful sack, just, pancaked their center, Joey Hunt. It was unbelievable. He got hurt. He has a groin. He's not going to play Sunday. You got to deal with Kyler Murray, who's similar but different than Russell. So, yeah, I understand the theater of it, and afterwards I was exhausted, and it was pulsating. But my ultimate takeaway from it, I thought it was a poorly played game.
Greg Papa with us. So kind of on the heels of what you said, I'll ask you a couple of hindsight questions. Let's start with the coach. Does Kyle Shanahan, in your opinion, deserve some of the criticism for how he handled the game clock in overtime? Hindsight would say a lot of people saying, well, maybe in the end he should have played for the tie, went for 3 straight passes, didn't bring time off the clock. Do you do that in that situation? Does he deserve the criticism, or do you think he made the right call?
Well, when the series started, I said on the air describing the game, a tie is more beneficial to the 49ers here than the Seahawks.
Right.
And I think, sometimes you coach the scoreboard, sometimes you coach the standings. But it's not an either or.
Sure.
It's not go into the fetal position like Peyton Manning did in that playoff game against Baltimore when he clearly had no more arm left and he couldn't do it, and it was a windy day that day in Denver. It's not just take 3 knees and go down, and it's not let's throw the ball 3 times and the hell with it. There's a way to manage that at the end of the game where it's both. I think the simple way to do it, 1:50 to go in the game. Seattle's out of timeouts. The 49ers have 1 timeout left. That's a lot of time in the NFL.
Yep.
I think what had to happen there, or should have happened there in retrospect, is they needed to run the ball on first down. Take the clock from 1:50. There's a 40-second play clock in the NFL. You could expire the whole thing with 1 throw. So I think the way to play it is to run it on first down, see what you get, throw it on second down, and depending on what you did on first down with the run, the second down play could be a simple bomb down the field. Just roll the pocket away from Clowney and try to get a pass interference, try to get a jump ball, try to make a play. And then you could always expire the clock as long as you end the third down play with 39 seconds or less. You just run the clock out. You don't have to punt. So it's not either or. It's not we're just going to play for a tie and take 3 kneel downs and just flip the ball to Alex Kemp. You're not doing that. So there's a way to do both. So I think the way to do it was to run on first down, as I say, throw on second down. Now, they're smart over there, and Pete Carroll knows that. And, going back to their Super Bowl loss, the mistake, they did the right thing by running Marshawn, by throwing the ball on second down. If they ran Marshawn Lynch into that pile, they were out of timeouts. Probably what they had to do on third and fourth down, they would have had to pass it twice. Maybe they could have run it on fourth down. But that's a different scenario. So that coaching staff has been in these situations. They made the right call in Super Bowl, 49?
Yeah.
It's just they didn't execute it right, and New England made a great play. So they know what they're doing over there. So to Kyle's defense, I think a little bit is he doesn't want to run a play that's not going to work. So he's thinking they're stuffing the run anyway. I mean, the first two runs of the game, I could tell right away, this is going to be a hard game to run. They were in the box. They got three linebackers on the field all the time. Clowney's in there. The first two runs, Clowney impacted right away. And you got, it's 3rd and 9. Now, you picked up the 3rd and 9. So I understand what Kyle's thinking. Why would I run it when it's not going to work? I'll throw a safe pass on first down. But the ball, even if you completed that first pass to Dwelly, they were sitting right there, Shaq Griffin, their corner. It wouldn't have been a big gain. So to me, it's not an either or. I think you play for the win still. You just do it strategically. Where, you know what it's like? It's like Joe Montana's great play to Dwight Clark. What did Coach Walsh say? Throw it high. It's either us or it's nobody.
Right.
They're not catching it. Maybe we'll make a hell of a play and go catch it. But if we don't catch it, they don't catch it. So I think in that situation, we're going to try to win it, but we're going to do it smartly, where if we don't win it, they are certainly not going to win it.
Greg, we know you talked about how you felt overall the game was poorly played. Individually, how do you think Jimmy G performed? Because we know he was down guys that will be important to what he can do for success weren't there or got hurt during the game, and there were drop passes. But if you just kind of looked at his game from start to finish, how would you evaluate Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, the first two series they scored, field goal, touchdown. And he got pounded that entire series. I think every ball he delivered, starting with the first third down in cut to Kendrick Bourne, he got pounded. He was getting pounded right from the start. And he stood in there and he took it. And things were going well until Emmanuel Sanders hurt his ribs, or the rib cartilage. And then after that, they doubled. They didn't double. They played more man. They're more of a zone team. Without Sanders, they just manned up, got physical, and the thing changed. The one high throw that Bourne had out of his hands, that was a high ball. Bourne the catch. If he makes the I would have with Jimmy is you got to protect the ball when the pockets collapse. The ball twice the way he did, and I know they're going to get it County and Food Forward and all the big guys inside. And
I think it happened.
Yeah, it did.
I think we lost Greg for
Dang
that.
it.
Yeah.
Dang it.
We'll see if we get a connection back there, but
I feel like that happened a few weeks back too.
Yeah,
I wonder if
in the same
Thursdays
spot.
at 8 he's making the same commute to the same place.
Yeah.
We're getting him in like the Caldecott Tunnel or something.
yeah.
Jay will try to bring him back. It is excuse me, it is interesting how you, in hindsight, we talked about Kyle Shanahan, should he have done this, should he have done that. Your question was exact next one I would ask, which is how do you rate Jimmy Garoppolo? How much of it was him choking a little bit,
Right.
and how much of it was receivers? And Greg kind of alluded to this. Mike McGlinchey and Joe Staley just were not.
They weren't good
at all.
Yeah.
So how much of that is on Jimmy G? And then the other thing I'd like to, we'll let him. We have him back. We'll let him continue. Hey, Greg, you're back. You were in the middle of breaking down Jimmy G and whether or not it was how much was him and how much was the surroundings.
Well, I don't know how far I got into it. I think he played a fine game. He got hurt. He got hit repeatedly early in the game. He got hit repeatedly throughout the game. They sacked him 5 times. They hit him 10. Clowney was in his face the entire game. So I think he played overall well. Did he miss a couple of throws? Yes. The main thing I would say is ball security when the pocket's collapsing around him. He cannot fumble the football. And those 2 fumbles, the first one, when Jaron Reed split the double team and Clowney scooped and scored, got him back into the game. The throw over the middle that Bourne went off his hands, it was a little bit high, certainly high, but an NFL receiver makes that catch and catches and runs with it after. That was unfortunate, and then he fumbled the ball again. So Russell Wilson fumbled the ball. Russell Wilson also committed an interception when they were in field goal range in overtime. So it's not like he's perfect. He just won the game at the end. But Jimmy at the end of the game had a 2-minute warning drill, the 2-minute drill, which was fantastic to get the game-tying field goal. And then he did it again in the overtime, and he set up for the exact same length field goal, a 47-yarder. It just got yanked. It got hooked. So I think, it wasn't a perfect game, certainly, but I think it was a hard game to stand in there and play quarterback. Tackles just did not block well, and Jadeveon Clowney and Jaron Reed and Poona Ford, all of them, were just in his face the entire night.
Greg, and then finally, and this may be the toughest question to answer, but after I found myself as a Niner fan hating the Seahawks, hoping that the rivalry would be rekindled, and all those questions were answered and then some. Do you come away from that game Monday any closer to being able to say whether the Seattle Seahawks or the 49ers are the better team? Did we get any of those answers Monday?
Well, I think if George Kittle plays and Emmanuel Sanders plays, it's a different outcome. But I could also say, Tyler Lockett, he didn't leave as early as Emmanuel, but Tyler Lockett, who I think is their best offensive weapon, including the quarterback, he left the game and was not a factor in the overtime. He got hurt later in the game. So I don't know. I think Seattle's attackable. I think you can deal with Clowney. He's a hard guy to block, though, because he's so undisciplined, where a lot of guys you can tell by what the front is and the foot position, what they're going to do. With him, you can't tell. He's so reckless, it's difficult to block him. So I don't know. They're a good team. I've always had great respect for them, even when they were winning. The 49ers and them have a very similar schedule, obviously, being in the same division. So a lot of the teams that I saw the 49ers just rout and have no problem with, they struggled with. So that's what I kind of thought it would go differently. But they're a well-coached team. They go to that big offensive line. They bring in George Fant. They keep the 3 linebackers on the field. They're a big physical team. I think that was a physical battle. And the one way, you can trick it up with angles in the running game and all that, but ultimately, I think the bottom line was they were more physical in this game, and that's why they won the game. Are they going to be more physical again? The next game's going to be there. So we'll see. And that could be a huge game. That could decide the NFC West this year. So I think, if things go differently in a couple of plays, if Robbie Gould has not hurt his quad, McLaughlin makes that last kick, it's a different outcome, obviously. But I think in this game, it was an imperfect game. And maybe it was the perfect way for the 49ers to end their perfect season because it was the ultimate imperfect game.
Greg Papa, the voice of the 49ers, joins us each and every Thursday, generally at 8:05. And as we wrap up, I got to say, Greg, I was on vacation a couple weeks ago, and you know this. If I'm not the president, I'm at least the treasurer of the Greg Papa fan club, especially now that you're with my Niners. And I came across this video of you in the booth watching you do your call and how active you are, not just your hand gestures, but rolling around the booth, patting guys on the shoulder mid-call. And I know Niner fans and even non-Niner fans absolutely loved looking at that. I'm all for Papa Camp. I think Papa Camp should be a thing. I think you should get it sponsored. I think you should get paid on it.
You know who I'm blaming for that?
Who?
Grant Napier and Doug
Christie.
Yeah.
They started this whole thing. So when Bogey made that shot, and I'm like, why do you want to see them? I don't want to see them. So the best way that it's ever been described, John Kingdon, who's the bald-headed man to my left, Chris Babcock's to my right, he's my spotter, and Chris is a football coach at Monte Vista for years, so I love him. But John Kingdon was Al Davis's right-hand man up until the day Al died, starting in 1979. And at the end, I think John was the closest to Al, and he's that close to him. So John was my spotter all the years I did Raiders games. And we've had some hellacious games, obviously, in the start of the 49ers season. But John described it the best to me years ago when he said, watching a football game with you is like watching a horror film with my wife. So where I'm just grabbing his arm and kicking him, and just the way sometimes I can't get the words out. I am Italian. And sometimes it's not enough for me to use my hands. I got to use my whole body.
Right.
But the one play, I forget which one it was, the Tart fumble where he ripped it out of Metcalf or the Buckner touchdown. There was one play on Monday night where I was in full-blown Italian mode, and I'm swinging my arms around. I knocked my headsets off. Which I've never done that before, and I didn't know what I did, but it sounded like an earthquake hit the middle of the game. And I literally knocked my headsets right off my head. So maybe I'm going to have to go to handcuffs or something.
Hey.
When I was doing the Warrior games years ago, the people that sat behind me, because we were on the floor right there, the most expensive seats in the house, I would stand up. I try to sit a lot, but certain moments of the game, and Nelly would always stand right in front of me, and he's so wide, I couldn't see. So the people behind me actually one year gave me a seatbelt. They said, would you please sit down? I said, this is not an airplane. It's going to get a little turbulent. And I'm sorry. If you want to be moved somewhere else, but you're going to see my ass for big moments in the game. You may not see the game. You're going to see my ass. I'm sorry.
Well, it's great to hear you. It's great to see you, and we always enjoy talking to you. Greg, thank you so much. Have a good game this week, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right. Greg.
The Drive.